I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Welcome back to the best leadership podcast ever, where every week I talk about the little leadership lessons that you're probably not doing. And today I want to talk about some magical milestones, because I learned a couple things that got me all feeling the heebie-jeebies. You see, there's this tribe in Ethiopia where when a boy reaches a certain age, they have to run naked across the backs of castrated bulls in order to be considered a man. It's nuts. It's kind of like a bar mitzvah, but at the same time, it's nothing like a bar mitzvah at all. And there's another tribe in Brazil that forces boys to wear gloves filled with bullet ants as a rite of passage to be considered an adult. I don't know if you know what bullet ants are, but I learned them when we were down in Costa Rica last year. Bullet ants have the most painful sting of any insect in the world. It's insane. So these boys have to wear the gloves for 10 minutes, and they've got to do it 20 times in order to be considered an adult. Seems a little excessive to me, but hey, I'm not from Brazil, and I don't wear gloves. But every culture has its magical milestones that mark the transition from childhood to adulthood. Some are painful, some are legal. But there's a problem with this, and it so happens that the problem is directly related to your happiness at work. But let's first start with your childhood. Reaching the age of 13 is a special milestone. You probably remember it. You probably were excited. Because not only do you officially become a teenager and can further frustrate the hell out of your family, but you're legally allowed to create accounts online and share your data. And then reaching 16 is a super special milestone too, because it's at that age that you're legally allowed to have a driver's license and you can finally break from the shackles of Uber mom or Uber dad or whoever's taxing you around. And when you get to 18 years old, you're legally allowed to vote. And then when you turn 21, you can legally go into casinos and bars. And you can finally purchase that alcohol and cannabis without the lame fake ID you bought online and have been using for 3 years. These federally mandated milestones are celebrated rites of passage in the United States. They're like the carrots hanging from the stick of youth for every generation of kids. And it's damn exciting reaching each of those ages. In a funny way, childhood is like a video game, where just by reaching a certain age, you get to unlock new levels of freedom that bring you continuously closer to adulthood. But then it's over. The magical milestones magically disappear. Turning 21 is the last legally mandated age-based milestone in life. Or actually, the next one doesn't happen until you're 59 and a half years old, because that's the point where you can legally withdraw money from your IRA without a penalty, which isn't nearly as exciting as getting your driver's license for the first time. We, the royal we, like all humans type of we, we're motivated by milestones. They're aspirational. We're excited to achieve them. We feel special. We throw parties to celebrate our entry into the new group or new age or whatever it is. This isn't new news. So I ask you, why the heck aren't companies doing the same things with their employees? Those rites of passage that made our childhood full of excitement, they give us an important lesson on how to motivate and reward employees. As a leadership coach, I often ask people if they know how their boss defines their success. In most cases, people have never been told in clear terms what it looks like to be successful at work. In fact, 50% of employees say they don't know what is expected of them at work. I'm not surprised, because according to workplace guru Ann Lohr, 85% of managers aren't clear with their employees on defining the top priorities. And if you don't know what your top priorities are, you don't know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you can't be measured on how far you have left to get there. That's bad. Every employee needs to know how success is measured in their role. They need to understand in clear and concise terms what they need to accomplish, when they need to accomplish it, and how their success will be measured. This should be done at 4 different levels: the individual goals, team goals, department goals, and company goals. Then, and this is a super important then you need to make their progress visible. Because people react more positively when they see how far they've progressed towards their goal. That's the very lesson we learned from our childhood when I first began this rant a few minutes ago. So create charts, trackers, leaderboards. I really don't care how you do it as long as you do it. That's the way magical milestones work. One of the simplest ways to instill rites of passage in the office is to create an employee recognition program. In fact, it's not just simple, it's also critical for the success of the business. According to Deloitte, companies with employee recognition programs are 12 times more likely to have better business outcomes, and they have a 31% lower employee turnover rate. In fact, companies that celebrate work anniversaries extend their employee retention rates by almost 2 years. So tell me, what did your company do for your first job anniversary? How about your 5th? Your 10th? Has it been worth sticking around for all these years? From childhood to adulthood, we thrive on milestones. They keep us motivated, they give us something to work toward, and they remind us that what we do has meaning. But somewhere along the way, leaders forgot how important it is to create the milestones and celebrate achieving them. If you want a motivated, engaged, and loyal workforce, you've got to give them something to run towards. So here's my challenge to you. If you're a leader, create some milestone moments. Make work anniversaries meaningful. Celebrate progress, not just the end result. And create systems that define success and transparently measure their progress. And if you're an employee, don't wait for your leader to listen to what I just said to them. Track your own progress, set your own milestones, define what success looks like to you, and gosh darn it, celebrate when you get there. Because whether it's running naked across the backs of some angry bulls, buying your first legal beer, or getting that promotion you've been gunning for, milestones aren't just markers for progress, they're fuel that keeps us going. So tell me, what's the next milestone you're working towards? And how are you going to celebrate when you get there? And hey, if you need to figure out some milestones in your career, you don't know how to do it, reach out to me, leadership@bytitleonly.com, and we can schedule a free consultation. If you like this, please share it with your friends. If there's a rating system here, rate it. That would be super helpful to me. I really appreciate you. Thank you for showing up, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.